and welcome to an earlier than normal look north, coming up on Monday's programme. As Sir Keir Starmer resigns as Prime Minister and leader of the Labour Party, we have reaction from politicians and voters in our region.
He seems a decent bloke, but he just didn't seem to get the decisions right.
I was quite sad because I thought he was going to be really good, but as it turned out he wasn't.
An inquest opens into the death of a teenager who died under the care of a mental health trust. 1 week to go until the last original metro train is withdrawn from service after nearly 5 decades. And Ben Stokes returns to captain England after being cleared of wrongdoing following an incident at a London nightclub. MPs and voters in our region have been reacting to the decision by Sir Keir Starmer to resign as Labour leader, paving the way for a new Prime Minister. His decision comes less than 2 years after an election where his party won almost every seat here. Local election losses since, though, have helped seal his fate. And this morning, he set out his departure.
I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September. I will remain in post as Prime Minister until the contest is complete.
Well, our political editor Richard Moss is here. So Richard, what has been the response in our part of the world?
Well, just a reminder that Keir Starmer took over as leader in 2019. When Labour was at a low ebb here, they'd lost seats then to the Conservatives in this region. They'd never lost before. Things seemed to get worse initially. 2021 Hartlepool by-election loss. He says he did consider resignation as leader at that point. But of course he carried on and did deliver that 2024 general election victory, all but one seat in the northeastern Cumbria going to Labour. So Baroness Chapman, who's a close ally, former Darlington MP, in his cabinet now, said today that he deserves credit for getting his party back into government.
The reason we're able to have a new Prime Minister and a new Labour Prime Minister is because of what Keir Starmer did in leading the party, turning it around, taking it from the pit of despair after 2019 loss at the general election, the worst defeat since 1935, leading us in one term. Everybody said that couldn't be done, but leading us in one term to a historic victory.
So what are voters here to make of all of this?
Well, we've been to Blyth, which turned to the Conservatives in 2019, long-standing Labour voting area, but came back to Labour in a seat in 2024. So what did people there make of the result? Here is what they had to say about Keir Starmer.
Personally, I thought he seems a decent bloke, but he just didn't seem to get the decisions right. I think the first thing was the winter payment for the World Fortnight May, you know.
I was quite sad because I thought he was going to be really good, but as it turned out he wasn't. So, but he was handed a poison chalice, the same as the next one will be.
Him resigning, we'll just have to wait and see what happens, you know, but I hope it's for the better. It certainly can't be any worse, in my opinion.
What happens next then, Richard?
One of the problems that seems to have sealed Keir Starmer's fate is the losses in local elections in places like ours, to Reform UK in particular, where they won councils in Durham, South Tyneside, Sunderland, Gateshead, and also seats in Hartlepool. And the MP there has put his support behind Andy Burnham, who's the only declared candidate at the moment to replace Keir Starmer. And Jonathan Brash, the Hartlepool MP, believes that he is somebody who can win support back.
Well, it's clearly not too late. We saw last Thursday, a constituency that voted over 50% for reform just 6 weeks ago returned in their droves to the Labour Party with the leadership of Andy Burnham. So it's clearly not too late. And the reality is voters will do the sensible thing, which is vote for the people who improve their lives. That's our mission over the next 3 years.
Andy Burnham, of course, only taken his seat back in Parliament this afternoon. But if there is nobody else willing to stand, then he well could be Prime Minister by mid-July.
Okay, interesting times, Richard. Thank you very much indeed. And you can follow the latest on the Prime Minister's resignation on a special live page on the BBC News website and app. The The parents of a teenager who died while in the care of a mental health service say they've been left with profound sorrow and frustration about her treatment. 18-year-old Emily Moore from Shildon died in February 2020 after being a patient at Lancaster Road Hospital in Durham. She'd been under the care of the Tees, Esk and Weir Valleys Trust. An inquest into her death is now taking place, as Stuart Wincup reports.
Emily was described as a bright, beautiful girl who had her whole life in front of her. In a statement, her parents said she was a very happy child, but developed mental health issues as a teenager, which left her feeling worthless. David and Susan Moore said their daughter's move from child to adult services just 2 days after turning 18 was difficult when she was vulnerable. They described that move as being deeply distressing for Emily and said she died within a week of it happening. They said they were living with profound sorrow and frustration for what their daughter had to endure. And they said although they only knew her for a short time, they were very proud of Emily. And she was now the brightest star in the sky. The inquest heard Emily's case developed rapidly, and she blamed herself for illness in her family and made several attempts to take her own life. She died in February 2022 after being found with a ligature around her neck at Durham's Lancaster Road Hospital. The coroner told jurors this was not a criminal trial and there were no sides. He said their job was to make findings of fact into the circumstances surrounding Emily's death. Stuart Wincup, BBC Up North, Crook.
Let's take a look at some more of today's stories, which you can also find on the BBC News app. A North East councillor says a joined-up approach is needed to protect Coton Beach dunes in Redcar from further erosion and antisocial behaviour. A plaque honouring one of Britain's most successful cyclists has been unveiled in Harrogate. Beryl Burton won 7 world titles between the 1950s and 80s. And an ancient Cumbrian bridge damaged in a crash could take months to be restored. Now the bridge in Kendal lost 10 metres of stone parapet in the crash, which now needs to be recovered from the river. Those stories and more on the BBC News app and online. A £50 million investment to secure the UK's supply of vital metals and minerals has been launched on Teesside. Materials such as gold, nickel and lithium are needed to make components and everyday items like mobile phones, fridges and electric cars. Firms at Wilton are recovering rare metals from recycled electric goods and wastewater. The government hopes the investment will reduce reliance on imports and bring jobs to the region.
So we've got 2 big opportunities in the UK, mining of the minerals, and we're doing some of that up in Weardale, and also the recycling as well. And I'm stood here in the Wilton Centre, you know, the former home of ICI research, and it's no wonder that businesses are making a beeline to Teesside to be here to do that, because a big challenge is getting the chemistry right and then upscaling it. And to do that you need big industrial sites, but you really need skilled chemists, chemical engineers, process operators, and we've got all of that in Teesside.
Now, passengers on the Tyne-Away Metro have just a week left before the last of the original fleet is withdrawn from official service. After nearly 5 decades, Nexus says the transition to the new models is almost complete. But as Jim Scott reports, the old trains will be missed by many.
Something exciting. The Tyne-Away Metro is on track to cut journey times with state-of-the-art trains. But now the original fleet are marking their final week in official service, and the news has spread far beyond the green and yellow lines.
We've come up from Colchester. I think the new ones are quite necessary. They're a lot more accessible, but I will miss the old ones.
Many of the old trains have been scrapped as the newer fleet has brought in, so they're becoming quite rare to catch.
I've been riding these since I was little, you know. I've always had an interest in the railways and especially the metro, and it was a thing I did when I grew up.
Definitely going to miss them. I've spent the past couple of years riding them as often as I can, making the most of them while I'm still here.
I'm quite philosophical about it because 46 years, I worked for 46 years, then retired, and these have been great workhorses.
You won't find first class on board, but for some there's a view worthy of the title.
When you get on the new trains, you don't see out the front. It's a better experience than new trains, I think. I don't know if my grandson agrees with me, but...
These trains have been on the network for the last 46 years, and for the final week of service, Nexus are going to be turning them into living pieces of history with placards and pictures from when the network first opened. But staff have been on hand giving out original tickets from the 1980s, and what's so surprising is just how small they are. One man still remembers when the tickets were like that, but he didn't actually need one.
That's quite emotional. It's 14 years since I was last in a metro cab, and I spent 34 years driving these trains, so that was a hefty part of my lifetime, over a third of a century.
It's so iconic, one of the most famous brands in the North East. It's sad to say goodbye to the old girls, but it's exciting to look forward.
The last of the original trains will be out and about between 9:30 and 5:30 each day, with the final service finishing on Friday evening. After that, it's luck of the draw, and eventually you might find you'll have better luck in a museum. Jim Scott, BBC Look North.
Nostalgia now. Beavers released into a forest in North Yorkshire are helping to reduce flooding. 7 years ago, the two Eurasian beavers were introduced into the Cropton Forest in the North York Moors. Researchers say since then they've built 6 dams which are helping to reduce downstream flooding. To cricket, and Durham's Ben Stokes will face no further action and be reinstated as captain for England's 3rd test against New Zealand this week after an investigation into an incident at a London nightclub earlier this month. A disciplinary hearing by the England and Wales Cricket Board found that Stokes and teammate Gus Atkinson breached contractual obligations but were blameless for violent conduct. Stokes was made unavailable for the 2nd test and instead played for Durham in the county championship, hitting 95 runs against Northamptonshire on Saturday. It's the final day and Durham are on course to win. Tributes have been paid to former Hartlepool United and Darlington manager Alan Murray, who died at the weekend at the age of 76. Murray started his playing career with Middlesbrough. As a manager, he guided Pools to promotion from the old Division 4 and also masterminded a memorable FA Cup victory over Crystal Palace. Murray went on to manage Darlington and also worked as assistant to Graham Souness at Southampton, Benfica, Blackburn and Newcastle. Lovely man. Now, let's get the weather forecast with Molly Brewer.
Hello there, good afternoon. Well, hot and humid it is out there at the moment, and that is just going to intensify as we head into the rest of this week. Now, in terms of the brunt of the heat, that's not really us, that's further south. We aren't seeing any warnings at the moment, but in terms of how it will feel, really quite uncomfortable still. Heat wave territory for many, that's when we have 25 degrees or more for 3 consecutive days, and we are due to see 31 degrees Celsius, potentially more in some areas. But back to the here and now, this is how it's looking this evening and overnight. You can see lengthy clear spells. We could see a few scattered showers early on, and then potential for some quite heavy downpours as we head towards the morning. We can't rule out the odd rumble of thunder in there too. And lows of around 13 degrees Celsius. We do have some quite muggy and warm nights on the way, so we'll see temperatures higher than that over the next few days. So tomorrow, some of those quite heavy showers could just work their way through from the southwest. So we could see a few tomorrow morning, but turning drier and much warmer and humid into the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine for many, and highs of 31 degrees Celsius. And as we take a look at the rest of this week, it is going to still feel very hot and humid. The potential for some thundery downpours on Thursday, so keep up to date on the BBC weather app for the very latest.
Phew, we'll be back with Look North at the normal time of 6:30 tomorrow. Bye for now.